Well, hi there, and welcome to our Sunday hymn time. And this time I have a song for you. I don't know a whole lot about it. It comes from the 19th century and written by a man by the name of George Young. And George was, he was a part-time carpenter and a part-time preacher. But in small communities, nobody sort of remembers George Young. But some people remember this song that he wrote. And I was thinking about it during COVID-19. We've all been encouraged to be kind to one another, right? Like every person you meet is carrying something, right? Whether it's from their past, whether it's in their present. And so everybody has a part of themselves that they don't show anyone, a burden perhaps. And so we have to be mindful of that. Before we criticize somebody, before we challenge somebody, to always be mindful that, there's something about this person that I don't know. And maybe they don't even want me to know. But the thing is, God knows. And the song is called God Leads Us Along. And what Pastor Young wanted to let people know was that even in the difficult circumstances, God would lead his dear children along. And I was thinking of that verse from Isaiah 40. And it talks about the sovereign Lord coming in power, right? We think of God as being very powerful. But he also tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those who have young. God knows how to gently lead his sheep and his lambs along. And he leads them in shady green pastures, but sometimes it's got to be through flood, through great sorrow. But God will still gently lead us along. And so I hope that you take some comfort in this song as we think about, whether you're on the mountain where the sun shines so bright, or whether you're in a valley right now in the darkest of night, God leads us along. In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, God leads his dear children along. Where the water's cool flow bathes the weary one's feet, God leads his dear children along. Some through the water, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Sometimes on the mount where the sun shines so bright, God leads his dear children along. Sometimes in the valley, in the darkest of night, God leads his dear children along. Some through the water, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Though sorrows befall us and Satan oppose, God leads his dear children along. Through grace we can conquer, defeat all our foes. God leads his dear children along. Some through the water, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. God leads his dear children along, doesn't he? And I was thinking that verse there that I read for you in Isaiah 40, it says that God tends his flock like a shepherd. I've been kind of dismayed a little bit, again, with some of the online stuff that goes on. And it's so easy to be, a little more cruel when you don't have to face somebody in person, isn't it? But, I've noticed among the people of God, well, they're trying to, ridicule some of us, right? Because we want to follow, the government guidelines. We want to do our part, during COVID. In fact, people have come up with a word now that I see being used by some people. The word is called sheeple, right? They say, oh, you're a sheeple. Oh, you're just a sheep. What are you, a sheep? And I think, boy, be careful how you trifle with that, because Jesus calls us his sheep, right? God leads us. I mentioned that there in Isaiah 40, tends his flock like a shepherd, gathers the lambs in his arms. In John chapter 21, Jesus, right, is asking Peter, do you love me? And then he says, well, if you love me, feed my lambs. Take care of my sheep. Feed my sheep. Right? We're called to look after, take care of sheep. And Jesus said that my sheep, they know my voice, and I lead them, and he leads us along. And I was mentioning earlier about some of the things that we go through. We don't really know, that some people are hiding, some people are afraid, some people have hurts and sorrows, and we all have some kind of weakness, and there's a weakness in this life. And St. Paul talked a lot about his own weaknesses, but I was thinking about a couple of those verses in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and amazing chapters, by the way, in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, some amazing verses in there. But it talks about we have this ministry through God's mercy. And since we have it through his mercy, we don't lose heart. We don't lose heart. Now, he reminds us that we have a treasure, and he talks about it. He calls it the light of the knowledge of God's glory. And somehow it's displayed in the face of Christ. So as we contemplate him, we begin to reflect that glory even ourselves. But lest we boast, he says we have this treasure in jars of clay, to show this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. We're all a little bit, I was going to say we're cracked pots. I didn't say crackpots. We're okay. Some of us may. Well, no. What I mean is we're brittle. We're clay. We're just clay, right? But we have a treasure inside these little jars of clay. And Paul says, in his case, he said we're hard pressed on every side, but we're not crushed. We're perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. And he says that we do not lose heart, right? Though outwardly we are wasting away, but inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes, not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Fix your eyes on him. Let him lead you along. Be proud to be called one of God's sheep, one of Jesus's lambs. And may he gently lead you along, whatever you're going through, here on this day and every day. God bless you.